afternoon, all, and welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show, and I'm your host, Sal Greco. Thank you all for tuning in. If you can, please hit that like, share, subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that notification bell as well. If you're watching on Rumble, please hit the like button, hit the Rumble button. And if you're watching on X right now, streaming all over the world, please hit that like button and share this out to all your friends, especially those in that low information bubble. And I think that bubble is like overcasted over New York City in general, especially in as we found out on Tuesday. There's a lot to talk about this election. I know what a lot of you are saying. Listen, I've been out there. John McCarty's been out there, Eric Dim, Marlon Bethel. Shout out to Ron Layson. I mean, they were at the Curtis Lewa headquarters on election night. And look, no one saw over 2 million people voting in this election. And nobody predicted that Zohran Mamdani would get 1 million votes. Okay. Just seeing this final tally, which and it's not completely, still a couple percentage points behind here, because it's not 100% of the votes in. But the only other candidate for mayor that ever received 1 million votes total in an election was John Lindsay in the 60s. This was the highest voter turnout since, I believe, at least 30 or 40 years. It's record numbers, if they're real. But nobody predicted that. And for those who say the polls were wrong. The polls never showed Zohran Mamdani getting a majority at any point. It never said 51%, never at 50%. It never showed Curtis Lewa at 7%. Andrew Cuomo at best was at 30-something%. And the only way it was in the 40s, it was one-on-one, where there was one-on-one with Curtis Lewa. Was that better than Cuomo? So all of this, like I said, it was just a scam from the beginning. And, of course, there was the three-card Mamdani, because, as you know, whether you elected Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, Zohran Mamdani, it was the same agenda, just a different view on things, slightly different, so that you can't say they're three robots. And right here, you could tell, oh, look, former First Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer, who resigned of the Eric Adams, is now going to be Zohran Mamdani's transition team. And you can see the names that come back. And it's funny because didn't I tell you, Eric Adams and Zohran Mamdani behind the scenes, it is one team. The only person that was never on any of these teams, which is a uniparty, was Curtis Lewa. Obviously, a lot of these low information people, you got gaslit. You were fear-mongered. And you were browbeaten into voting for someone who had no chance. Andrew Cuomo was done. Nowhere. He can't get elected dog catcher. And even in this election, here's the other one I like to hear. I like people saying, if you add the totals, if Curtis Lewa wasn't in there, then Cuomo would have won. Listen, we could play the what ifs. I'm going to go back because I've heard Dominic Carter mention what ifs, the what ifs. What if? So what if says, Dominic Carter says, if Lewa would have dropped out months ago, then that adds another 1.5 points plus all of Curtis Lewa's votes go to one person. Let me explain this to you one last time now that this is over. In no scenario do those votes that Curtis Lewa have 100% go to any other candidate. You're lucky that half of those would go to any candidate, whether it be Mamdani, whether it be Cuomo. No way, in no scenario do 100% of those votes have. And by the way, there were people that absolutely detest Andrew Cuomo. They will write in Ronald McDonald because some people still have integrity and principles in New York City. Some, not all, some. So that myth is just, I don't know what is going on at WABC. You're pushing out low information talking points, but let's give you one that maybe you need to remember. I don't like to deal in what ifs. I deal in what is. But what if Let's go back to January of 2025. There's an inauguration. On many people's deity, Donald Trump is now the president. And all of a sudden, you hear the whispers that were going on for months that he might drop or might pardon Eric Adams, a criminal who led to the destruction of New York City and is the second biggest name in this. Why Mamdani, the rise of Zohran Mamdani. Eric Adams plays a very big role, not as big as Andrew Cuomo, who's the godfather of the Mamdani movement, but Eric Adams led to Zohran Mamdani because he was that bad, that corrupt in New York City. He's about to be let off his charges, you start to hear. What's going on here? 115 million reasons why to let him off. Because there's a casino bid in the Bronx that needs a veto from the mayor if it's going to go forward, right? From Bally's. That Bally's Ferry Links golf course, which has links back to Trump and Steve Witkoff and a lot of things going back and forth, a lot of footsies going on with Eric Adams and Trump. And you go, these two guys don't even know each other. How did this even happen? Oh, but Steve Witkoff knew him and Boris Epstein knows him. And there's a lot of other people in Trump world. And Trump then, Email Bove steps in and lets Eric Adams off the hook. But he doesn't do it the way the DOJ usually does it. There was no merits to dropping that case. He just said he's going to help me with illegal immigrants. And so you interrupt his day-to-day operations as mayor if we prosecute him, even though he did commit felonies. So that in itself will be an impeachable offense. It is. Why? President Trump comes out a few months later. I did him a favor. You know, he was being treated unfairly. And all of this will add up. We'll discuss this a year from now yet again. But I told you that he would be, if the Democrats took the House back, he will be impeached and Eric Adams would be a star witness. Because there's a lot going on behind the scenes with that. And Eric Adams and Trump's family, or just, I don't know what's going on. I mean, he was down here with the Fort Lauderdale young Republicans that I don't know where their integrity is. They had a fundraiser for Eric Adams who was raising money in Vegas and Florida and had no shot of ever being reelected. So all of this, we're just going to, we're going to put a circle around it. If Eric Adams then goes to trial, Trump doesn't interfere, does what's right, forgets about being, his family being greedy. They want their name on the woman rink. They want, you want. You're the president of the United States. Worry about yourself. Don't worry about yourself. Worry about the country. So with that going on, Eric Adams goes to trial. Eric Adams would have been found guilty really quick, and that would have been it. Eric Adams would have had to resign in disgrace, go to prison. Jumaane Williams, who he himself has straw donations going to his campaign, he would become your mayor. You cry out there. You say, he's a socialist. He's a communist. If you were under Jumaane Williams, this is a what if, right? Because I'm going to combat Dominic Carter with 40 years of experience. He says, he's a friend of mine, but we got to hit him with common sense here. And the what if. Jumaane Williams goes to prison. What happens next? I mean, Eric Adams goes to prison. Jumaane Williams becomes the mayor. What happens next? Well, by November, first of all, we don't have the rise of Zohran Mamdani. You have a socialist mayor who may or may not be indicted himself. And then come November, you are craving for a moderate or a Republican to become mayor. But that would have interrupted the 115 million reasons, right? And also the real estate people like John Katsimatidis and Bill Ackman that are in Trump's ear. So if you want to play the what if, go back and unfortunately, you can say, well, if President Trump doesn't butt in not once but twice, as he did a couple of days ago when he endorsed Andrew Cuomo, you don't have a Mayor Mamdani. But, I mean, it's bigger than that because Andrew Cuomo is the godfather of the movement. Why? It was Andrew Cuomo that many years ago eliminated all the extra party lines, meaning the Green Party, the Libertarian Party. There were many parties that ran candidates. And this was the thing about New York City. You could run with these party nominations in the state. It was Andrew Cuomo that put in laws to outlaw that. But you know what party he left? The Worker Family Party. You know why? The Working Family Party? Because he was on that line. And now all these years later, they're the ones that essentially decapitate his political career once and for all and put the exclamation point on the end of Andrew Cuomo. Isn't it funny that it's the very party that he left? All the other parties he crushed. He left that party, and it's that party that gives rise to Zohran Mamdani. So it is Andrew Cuomo's fault for everything, whether it's the policies that were implemented, whether you talk about the party this guy even ran on, because he's got a card-carrying member of the DSA. That's all Andrew Cuomo. And yet you guys out there got suckered into voting for this guy because your deity told you from D.C. first says, vote for affordability. If you want affordability, vote for Republicans, but not in New York State where it's unaffordable because of Andrew Cuomo, vote for him. And this is where Republicans need to look at themselves in the mirror. And I really, want to say this to President Trump. Listen, you got elected on an America First agenda. You've been all over the country. Not even the country. You've been all over the world. I know you want your Nobel Peace Prize, but what happened on election night is not because of the shutdown of the government. It's because you started worrying about personal ventures, I want the Nobel Peace Prize, when we have domestic issues that are completely being neglected. Gas is still high. Groceries are still high. Things are still unaffordable. And although they're slightly better, there's nothing to say, hey, our president, he's really doing great on that. No, he's really doing good in other countries. But that's the referendum, and that's on the Republican Party, who clearly don't want to win races. They like to lose. They fundraise. They have their little clout chase parties, and then they go back to saying, oh, well, now we won, we're in government, and they go on vacation. And then they lose again and do the same vicious cycle. That's a Republican Party in not only New York City, but in America. And then we have here, look at this. You have the New York Post with this whole thing. Oh, get your Marx. They call this guy a Marxist and all that. And we joked around. I mean, look, I used a graphic today with the Zohran Mamdani with the basically a Soviet Union flag doesn't even exist anymore, because it's funny. He's a socialist, and that's what he claims to be, but that's not what he really is. All right. So I just, for a moment, I want to, I want to play Free Spoke. Why? Because on the Free Spoke app, if you were following things on Free Spoke, you would have known a lot quicker what's going on with the elections. There were, it's just, this is the way to know things up to date without getting any kind of bias in it. So let's play this for everybody. And you don't get what you're looking for. Well, I have a solution for you, and that's Free Spoke. Free Spoke is a search engine that does everything without all the restrictions and all the censorship, and there's no porn ads. Free Spoke is about authenticity rather than agendas. Labels media bias, no intrusions or data leaks. No porn ads, like I said, unlimited, unbiased AI. Also, deep dive podcasting. You can look it up. Go to freespoke.app.link/Greco. Download the app. You could also use the same link to get 35% off the premium subscription, which would be well worth it. Try it out. freespoke.app.link/Greco. And there you have it, folks. Use the code Greco35. Get your premium subscription. You get 35% off. I use it. That's how I know what was going on with the election. Up to date, as everyone else was a little late. I mean, they usually get the news first, and they don't push it out as some kind of biased, some biased search engines out there. But now back to this election and everything that occurred there. And let's see some of the comments. I like what somebody says. So Joe Williams said, this identity politics is killing the Republican movement. It's actually killing everything. Identity politics. It's really, the Republican Party is really truly to blame with a lot of this. I'm not gonna try to lie to you and tell, oh, it's great, being a Republican. And some people lost their principles and integrity here, voting for a Democrat. I don't, and it's a Democrat that hated you. He hates you. He wanted people for Second Amendment, told you to leave the state of New York. He shut down the state of New York. He was trying to arrest people for opening their businesses. He tried to arrest people that were having weddings and going to church, all because of the pandemic that was, not handled correctly by Mr. Cuomo. But you voted for him because you either got feared-mongered into it, gaslit into it, or were told by your deity / president, apparently, what to do. And you voted against your own conscience and integrity. That is disgraceful. That really is. And here, Daniel Krzyznia, who was he's Curtis's campaign manager. And by the way, Dan, you ran a good campaign. Don't listen to these naysayers that say otherwise. This is New York City. It's run differently. And by the way, Curtis didn't have $25 million PACs like Cuomo and Bill Ackman, who now, by the way, is siding with Zohran Mamdani, like I told you. So, Dan, you ran a great campaign with Curtis. It's a disgrace what's going on there, what I'm seeing. But he says here, people were governed by fear and propaganda, and they turned their backs on a Republican nominee, Curtis, who had their backs for 50 years. Pathetic. I agree. That's what's going. That's what I'm saying. And here's some of the numbers in Staten Island. Do you see how many people? This was a stronghold, by the way, Republican stronghold. Republicans hadn't lost this borough in ages. 82,000 people voted for Andrew Cuomo, and then 33,000, almost 34,000, voted for Zohran Mamdani, who didn't even go to Staten Island. And then there's Curtis in third place. How does that even happen? That's the Republican. You see these boroughs, you see all the gold. Gold means it was Cuomo. The gold numbers, though, like in the southern part of Staten Island, which Frank Morano, my friend, thank God he won. He's going to be the city councilman at least for another 2 years. Frank Morano overwhelmingly won, but like 70-something% of the vote. Frank Morano and Curtis campaign together. Frank Morano's very good friends. Curtis might be probably his best friend. And how does that borough vote for Cuomo but vote for Frank Morano? How do you even do that? And all these boroughs you see the districts all gold, those were dark red. Those were Republican districts. All voted for Andrew Cuomo. That's why the Republicans did not stick to their principles. By the way, they got slaughtered. Christy Marmorato's gone. The margins of victories were not what you thought they would be. Athena Clark got beat. Elijah Diaz, who had more donations into his campaign than Farrah, what's her name there? And that blew up. I don't even know how that works. But that shows you that politics is a dirty business. It's a dirty business. I see some comments. I like what I'm seeing here. Some people, what they're saying. Let me find some things. So, yeah, I'm sorry. So Daniel is he's Sliwa's spokesperson. He's not campaign manager, but he was the spokesperson. We would say this because if anything, you saw that he would comment on anything in the media. If they asked questions about the campaign, he's who you would ask. So he said it right there. The decks were stacked against us, though, and people governed by fear. And then that's what I believe. That 92 Charlie said this too. Hey, Sal, you think Trump's DOJ will look into Mamdani's citizenship status and accepting foreign donors? Now, the citizenship status, I don't know if you're going to get that. I really don't. That's the you want to hang your hat on. The guy is a citizen of this country, whether you like it or not. Or he did everything in the right amount of time. He did try to dodge the draft and that, and he did it, but he did it at the very last second, he did what he think you have to do it in a certain amount of time before you're 25 years old, and he did that. You may not like it, he did it. So by the law, I think he's gonna sneak on by with that. Foreign donations, absolutely not. He should be looked at immediately. Foreign donors and straw donors, but yet, is it worth it for Republicans to try to prosecute him, or is it worth it to keep him around and fundraise around communism's coming? Vote for me in Kansas. That they don't have anything to run on. The government shut down. They're not doing anything about the agenda that we voted for when we voted Trump in. So essentially, what do you think is going to happen? Do we do the right thing, or do we keep the boogeyman out there and the straw man? That's what they're doing. Mamdani is now the straw man for Republicans. Instead of implementing policies, going back to work, having Congress and the Senate back and running, having the federal government up and running again, that's how things move forward. Right now, you're at a complete standstill and nothing gets done and people get upset. Is that on the ballot, meaning that's what people voted for? They voted against this? Maybe there's a small percentage, but it's what the candidates and the policies they brought forward, except in New York City, apparently. That didn't work, Raheem Hamilton says, wow, Sal, you really don't like Trump. No, it's not that I don't like Trump. I don't like what he's doing. And we could sit here and build a shrine to someone. I don't build shrines. I pray to one entity, one God, okay? My God is God, and my Savior is Jesus Christ. That's who you pray to. You don't worship human beings. Some do. Go online and you'll see it. It's quite sickening. They may not say, I pray to him, but their rhetoric and their actions are, this person runs like the day-to-day operations of someone's life. It's quite disturbing, actually. That's the best way for me to put it. I see Daniel still going. He said, because millions were spent to propagandize sleeper voters and moderate Ds, and it's to vote for Cuomo, the worst politician ever. It's 100% what was going on in this election. I mean, look, folks, I've been involved in this for quite a while. They took my job because of, my political allegiance, will say, to Trump, and because Roger Stone's my best friend. I know what I'm talking about with this, and none of us saw this 51%. And there's videos out there. There might have been some shenanigans with voting, but that's New York City. It's a Democratic machine. They've been doing this for quite a while. The votes get siphoned. Who's voting? There's no voter ID. It's funny, Elon Musk put that out there. Elon Musk puts that out, no voter ID. I was a police officer, and I saw that. You could walk in, just vote. Nobody checks who you are. And I watched an illegal immigrant do it, because a couple of days later, I stopped that guy in the street and go, hey, didn't I saw you voting. And then his ID is some fake consular. It's a fake ID. He doesn't have a driver's license. He's an illegal immigrant. That's who was voting. This was about 13 years ago now. This was during the Obama-Romney election. Nobody cared. That's New York for you. New York City allows this. And I thought this was something that was going to be high up on the DOJ agenda under the Trump administration. But what can I say? This guy is more involved with foreign business, which you need foreign relationships with, but you don't make this run your term, because he's been doing this for months. Joe Williams says it here. He just said, I like what he said right here. Trump is not doing a good job right now, and I voted for him several times. I didn't just get on the MAGA bandwagon yesterday, but I can call out the BS. Exactly. That is exactly what I'm saying, Joe. You're 100% right. Raheem Hamilton says, Sal, I feel the Democrats put Cuomo up for Zoran to win. It was just Zoran and Sleeper would have won. A lot of people second that motion, or at least it would have been very competitive, right? Even if Eric Adams stays in the race. But with Eric Adams gone, that puts a lot of attention back on Andrew Cuomo, who probably has a better grasp at the political machine than Eric Adams at this point. And by keeping him there, he's your spoiler, because he didn't win his primary. He got shellacked again. it's unbelievable what happened here. It really is. And it's not like sour grapes. It's just the polls weren't even right. The polls weren't right. I'm sorry. How many polls had Mamdani over 50%? What poll showed Curtis Lewa at 7%? And that Staten Island would all of a sudden go be Democrat overnight. Same borough that voted Trump, like, forget it, the percentage Trump got there. That's the same borough. You know? I don't know. It's like that is like a tsunami in what happened. But it's expected with the way the country's being run that might happen, you know? And Joel Ramirez says this. Just because you represent a party doesn't mean you can't hold the person representing you accountable. Stop being blindly loyal. That's what I'm trying to say, folks. You know, your vote, your loyalty, that's earned. You have to earn it. You know, that's what you have to earn someone's loyalty, someone's respect. You just don't hand it over to someone. And that's what a lot of people are doing right now. It's quite, you know, I don't know what to say. It's quite shocking, and yet things don't. I mean, how did New Jersey work out for everybody? Jack Ciattarelli, another guy that certain WABC radio host he's going to be the next governor. He had him on the show like 9,000 times. He got destroyed, okay? And in that election, Cheryl, and I understand, it's a deep blue, but you know what? Trump almost won New Jersey. It's like that, like right there. Look at that percentage. 56% Mike Sherrill got. Mickey Sherrill, Governor-elect Sherrill got. Ciattarelli almost became the governor in the last race 4 years ago. Ran a slightly better campaign than last time. Got Trump's endorsement, who almost won New Jersey. Okay. He had a voter turnout of, I believe, over 120,000 more. The Republican voter turnout was much higher than last 4 years ago. Yet Sherrill got 400,000 votes in Essex County and another county that was very questionable how that happened. But he would have lost anyway, even if that doesn't go that way. So how does that happen? And I understand Virginia, they voted for basically a criminal. and you know, that's another, well, you had a Republican governor there. Now you don't. You had a Republican attorney general. Now you don't. How do you not see this as something is wrong with the Republican Party? And you can't even hold on to local. And then in New York City, 7%, because you not only abandoned the Republican candidate, Curtis Lewa, you didn't even help him. You had them all going on air, radio host colleagues of his, saying that Curtis's wife took money. Curtis was taking money from Zohran Mamdani. You want to insult somebody and say that? And that host, I'm really ashamed about that person saying it. You're going to accuse him of taking money? Curtis Lewa lives in a shoebox apartment for God knows how many decades. He's taking money? For a guy that takes money, he's out every day in the street, in the subways, doesn't even take a vacation anywhere, but he's taking money. And his wife taking money, who's next to him all day. I think she's an attorney. You got to be kidding me. By the way, you can't take that money and like cash it in campaign, funds. That was another thing they were saying. All of this lying, fear-mongering, gaslighting contributed to what happened. So now I'm going to get to Curtis's concession speech. So let's hear what he said. I think he was very classy, unlike another candidate that lost that night.
And let me warn our new leader, if you try to implement socialism, if you try to render our police weak and impotent, if you forsake the people's public safety, we're not only organizing, but we are mobilizing, and we will become the mayor-elect and his supporters' worst enemies, worst nightmare. Yes. So although the most powerful people in the world turned others against us, in this time where we could have saved the city, we will continue our mission. We're not leaving to Florida or Georgia or North Carolina or South Carolina, Texas or Tennessee. We stay, we fight for what we know is right.
Never surrender.
We improve, we don't move.
Listen, that's it's a good speech. And it is sad to see that people, what they did and how they handle this. He is right. They were powerful people, rich billionaire real estate moguls, and the president of the United States that mobilized against him. Republicans, at least in name only. Marlon Bethel says that Curtis should run for public advocate. I don't think he should run for anything. This is New York City is a cesspool, the way they treat people. That's just a fact. I'm one of your main culprits. Yeah, you look at behind me. All these accolades, almost a near perfect record on the job. Friends with Roger Stone. We got to get rid of him. And then wait a minute, he didn't commit any crimes. We're sorry, but we're not. We're gonna just terminate you anyway and try to ruin your life. And then where was everybody with that? Curtis kind of mirrors me. The guy was a hero for all this time, and now he's probably got to watch out in the street. I see people commenting. You're calling him a communist. You're calling John McCarry a Marxist. John McCarry, a Marxist. I don't know where you get your intelligence at, but that's why the title of the show is Low Information Voters Do New York City In Again, because that's what rules the roast when it comes to elections, The lone silence is Trump is becoming unrelatable to a lot of his base, but how he has been acting lately. The consistent claim of the economy being strong when many are still struggling is a slap in the face. I agree. The economy is not great. I don't care. I've saw this before. Oh, it's 3.5, 2.5. You complained about Joe Biden, but what are you doing differently that moves the needle? And you can't be, I'm going in China, I'm going to wherever it is today. You got to stay here. You got problems domestically, but worried about foreign wars, foreign interest. Like, what is that about? Nobel Peace Prize? Who cares about that thing? Who the hell cares about getting an award, Nobel Peace Prize? You got to worry about your own people. I thought that's what he campaigned on, Here, Jeff Smith says, I voted for Trump, but was very disappointed he dropped the indictments against Adams. Election results probably would have been the same. Actually, would have varied. You know why? Because Mamdani never runs for mayor. He's just a 1% guy. But you wanted Eric Adams to protect your little real estate interest, all the little real estate moguls there. And now you got Mayor Mamdani. That's the truth. I'm not going to – there's no way of sugarcoating. If you look back, that is more acceptable to take than – what are you going to say? Curtis should have dropped out? Curtis, you should have, would have, could have. I go back to something very serious that happened. That drop in that guy's case changed the trajectory of this race and everything else around it. And it's very viable to say that. Special Hagen says it was sad to see him get this emotional. He truly has the best interest of the city at heart. Whether you agree with him or not, hopefully he will work with Mamdani. I don't know what Curtis is going to do. You can only hope for the best when it comes to this guy being a mayor, but getting elected mayor, I don't know, because he's a corporatist is the best way to do it. Joe Mango says, Sal, so you think Curtis will try again in 4 years? No, I think it's over. He's 71 years old. This was it. Joe Williams says, Sal, what do you think about Katz having de Blasio on the show yesterday? It was a love fest between them. Oh, John, you're so great. Oh, de Blasio, you were a great mayor. It was sickening. I have pointed this out to all of you. John Katsimatidis is friends and has donated to Kathy Hochul, Andrew Cuomo, Eric Adams, Bill de Blasio. He ran against Bill de Blasio and dropped out and then immediately started donating to Bill de Blasio and saying, yeah, you should elect him mayor. That is not a Republican, folks. He's not a conservative. He's doing whatever it is in his best interest. If he came to your neighborhood or your town and wants to buy out the neighborhood and needs real estate, he's going to be your mayor and your city council's best friend. Wherever he can or whatever he could reach and call to get his agenda, personal agenda, whether it's buying real estate or whatever, he's going to do. And WABC is just, that's just a vanity project for him. It's quite sad, but I try to warn everybody. We try to ring the alarm bells. I don't know what to say. I hope Curtis never walks in that WABC building ever again. The studio, it's not even worth it. Let's see. Daniel comes in again. He tells Stephen S. here, the campaign started in February. There was structure. All 5 counties were behind Curtis. Ed Cox, the state chair, behind him. We outraised Cuomo outside of the dark money. That is correct. Money was not the issue. Raising it. The money is the PAC money isn't there. PACs are what should be eliminated because people like Mike Bloomberg just throwing millions of dollars into Cuomo's coffers in the last week or two. How is that fair? You raise money, matching funds. You do it legitimately too. Curtis doesn't have straw donors. He doesn't have foreign contributions. But how do you compete against these PACs? $25 million Cuomo had laying around, plus the extra money that was coming in at the end. I don't know it's really sad. And here's more from Daniel. The media, political class, billionaires, and elites did not want Curtis. They poured millions into the race to propagandize people. No Republican stood a chance, not one. And they all got basically slaughtered. Other than what? Vicky Palladino won. But Vicky Palladino's strong in that district on her own. But it was probably closer than it should have been. Special Hagen says, I'm a Democrat and think de Blasio and Adams were horrible mayors. Katzimatidis about his pockets. You're right. Daniel said this too. Even Trump and Elon Musk put their fingers on the scale and people bought the bullshit hook, line, and sinker. Instead of standing on principle, standing on integrity, backing a guy that deserved it. I 100% agree with you. I am totally disgusted. I did Joe Pags, I did his show yesterday. If you don't know, the Joe Pags show, he's a very good friend of mine, good friends with Roger Stone, but he's really close with Curtis. He loves Curtis. He tried to have Curtis on his show. Curtis was so busy, and thank you, Dan. Curtis came on this show, just so you know. He came on this network. He campaigned 20 hours a day. He slept only 4 hours, if that, and he was out there on the street for 20 hours a day. To even get an hour or 50 minutes of his time for him to come and do anyone's show, that tells you something. So Joe Pags was trying to get a hold of him, and a lot of people I know that have access to Curtis, he'll pick up. Usually Curtis will pick up the phone, but during the campaign season, that was not going to happen. So he is mortified over what happened. He said and I went over what I'm talking about now with him, and getting 7% is really mind-boggling, especially for a Republican in Staten Island alone. And I saw some people, you showed up to his party on Tuesday night, but then you're posting things against him in the morning because you're not sincere. And you're lucky because if I was around, I know how I would handle people like you, like Jim Walden, who Jim Walden, I'm going back and forth with that guy on the internet because I've had enough of him attacking people. Then he says, don't blame Curtis. Listen to me. Jim Walden came on the show. He's a perennial 1%. Not that he's a 1% rich. He was 1% in the polls and never moved. There's a guy that, in my political expertise, had no shot whatsoever to win. But having him on, giving him a platform, because everyone has the right to push their agenda out, push their process, see where they land, So Jim Walden, that also led to Jim Walden going on other people's shows. People that I know. Who is this guy? I had him on. Let's see what he has to say. See if it resonates. See if you like him. So he went on places because he knew us with his 1%. And then Jim Walden does something that I'm going to tell you now that I was telling him last night. I had spoken to him on the phone. We were talking about him coming on the show and talked about, too, with Eric Adams' criminal case. And then I tell him what happened to me. And I mentioned my friend. I said, Roger Stone. He goes, I don't know who Roger Stone is. Who's Roger Stone? I go, you don't know Trump's. No, I don't know Trump's. What is he like? He helps him out. There is no President Trump without Roger Stone. I think everyone out here knows this. The guy started with him in late 78 with his father and him via Roy Cohn. It's that's how they met. That's how far back they go. Very close, always helping Trump get his casinos in Atlantic City. Roger was there for the whole thing. They've been really close. Then they get upset at each other. Then they're back to being friends again. So, but they're really, they're like they're entwined together forever. So he tells me he doesn't know him. And then someone sends me this. They go, did you know about this? There's Jim Walden saying that there should be a RICO case on Trump and Roger in regards to January 6th. Hello, Jim. That's what they were trying to say, that I was somehow trying to overthrow the government. But you told me you didn't know him. So the person that's insincere and disingenuous would be you. Because you were given your chance on here to give your platform, whatever policies you wanted. You said don't believe the polls back then and to donate to your campaign at 1%. And then you get out of the race and say, believe all the polls. And, I said Andrew Cuomo's a bad guy, but now you need to vote for him. He's going to save the city. Who are you? I know you were a prosecutor, but I don't know. God knows what he used to do as a prosecutor. I hate to say that, Here's Special Hagen. He said, he's ridiculous. Stone had a huge legal case. I had never heard of him before, but as a lawyer, you would know about his case at least. Special Hagen, he never admitted once he knew who Roger Stone was to me. It was only because I found online someone sent him berating him on CNN or wherever it's MSNBC. Now he wants to lecture all of us. People don't like liars. That's what I always say about myself. You may not like me, but there's one thing you do. You respect me because I stand on my principles and my morals and I have integrity. You just may not like what I say. That's fine. I may not like what you say, but do you respect someone? That's another story. And some of the people he kept tagging, same thing. I might like some of those people, but I don't respect them. And that's what the majority of the people are now saying. And that involves some WABC people that he's tagging, and he's tagging this one and that one. Yet he has a second account that Marlon Bethel found. So just want to address that guy because last night he was attacking John McCarthy too. I mean, talk about a plant. Now let me get to the other videos we have before I have Jack on. So Cuomo came on, and let's see what Cuomo had to say. This was last night of New York Post.
I'm very proud of the effort that we ran. It was an important message and an important campaign. I think New Yorkers heard us, and it's an important message for New Yorkers to understand, because I think this city, the Democratic Party, is headed down a dangerous road, and the campaign was about pointing out the issues and the potential pitfalls, and I think it worked very well.
Yeah. He's trying to lecture you now yet again. The guy that destroyed the state and the city is going to lecture you. Say, the Democratic Party, you let the Worker Family Party exist. You could have destroyed them the way you destroyed the Green Party, the Libertarian Party. No, you kept them around. Oh, now they're a danger to everyone. That means you was the danger. You started it. You let them hang around. You didn't do anything about it. This is the intelligence of some people, This guy Andrew Cuomo is Hard X Course says, I admit I was a bit taken back how much this podcast was so friendly with Walden. A little research would show you how much of a snake he is. I wish you were in the comments then, because I'm going to be honest. I only saw his history. I did not see him on the CNN or MSNBC. Had I known about it, I would have said, what are you talking about that Trump and Roger should be in a RICO case? So then what are you trying to say? That should be me too? Because they're trying to say that I'm involved in something that never happened as well. He's definitely, there's something there with that guy, but that's why he's 1% Jim. So now let's get to the president chiming in with Brett Baer about Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah, I thought it was a very angry speech, certainly angry toward me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot of things coming to him, so he's off to a bad start.
At one point he says, turn the volume up.
So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
How do you respond to that? Does that affect anything you're going to do?
It's a very dangerous statement for him to make, actually. And, you know, you talk about danger. I think it's a very dangerous statement for him to make. He has to be a little bit respectful of Washington, because if he's not, he doesn't have a chance of succeeding. And I want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed. I don't want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed, and we'll see what happens.
Did you see reaching out to him?
I would say he should reach out to us, really. I think he should reach out. Right. I'm here.
He should reach out. He will. Trust me. He'll be at Mar-a-Lago or Trump Tower somewhere. Bill Ackman and John Katsimatidis will be there, and he'll be on your favorite radio show in the morning, and he'll say, I love the guy. I didn't like him. He's a commie. I called him a jihadist, but he's the mayor. He's the mayor. He's on the #1 radio show. And afterwards, my good friend Zoran, Zo the man, W-A-B Zoran, something like that. This is like WWE. He has a point in that you shouldn't go after the president in your speech when really, again, I want to reiterate, the president does not affect the day-to-day operations of the mayor of New York City. You also need the federal funds to operate. There's a lot of programs that, operate off federal funds. It's not wise to fight the federal government if you're the mayor, especially one that has multiple campaign finance violations, some that are felonies. You might want to just keep your mouth shut and worry about running the city. But, I also don't like that Trump is, you threatening this guy now? Like you're trying to play a tough guy when we all know that you need him to pass your real estate stuff. So I don't know how that goes. This is WWE, okay? And they're going to use Mamdani to run because the Republicans have nothing to run on. They have accomplished zero as the supermajority. Nothing. Just like the first time Trump got in, they did nothing. And that's essentially what they're doing. They're killing the agenda, and nothing's getting pushed across, and they fearmonger to try to get votes. And next November, I fully expect that we're going to use Polymarket. Check Polymarket. Polymarket was right about everything. Polymarket this, Polymarket that. Yeah, check what they're saying about the Congress and whether Republicans are going to hold it or not. Because if you're going to go by Polymarket being God's word and it's the gospel, then Trump is going to get impeached in January when the Democrats take over. So just if you go by Polymarket, right? So now I got a couple of Mamdani's videos. Let's see what the first thing Mamdani had to say before. There was something he did today I'm going to show, but I think we'll play the first Mamdani video. I think this is after he's already the mayor here or something.
Good morning, New York City. Thank you. Last night we made history, and today we begin the work of making a new administration. Welcome to the transition. This is the period over the next few months where we build a city hall that delivers on the promises of our campaign, to make New York City affordable and to make government accountable to the people it serves. As we prepare to govern, we'll start announcing the leaders who will help implement our agenda. People like deputy mayors who oversee entire areas of government, and the commissioners who carry out the critical work of city agencies. These appointments will be driven by excellence, integrity, and a hunger to solve old problems with new solutions. Talking to organizers on the front lines of the fight to improve our city, government veterans with proven track records, policy experts from around the country and the world, and working people who know better than anyone what our neighborhoods deserve. And this will be a period, like the campaign we ran and the city hall to come, defined by transparency. Because New Yorkers deserve a government they can trust. On January 1st, I will be your mayor. New Year's Day and a new era for this city. Oh, and one more thing. Remember how I told you a few months ago to stop sending us money? You can start again. This transition requires staff, research, and an infrastructure that can meet this moment. And it will be made possible by the people who built and believe in this movement. So I hope you'll make a donation at transition2025.com. Now let's get to work.
Listen, a lot of those things already sound like the pie in the sky routine that he's given, that already he's flip-flopped on going on this show, talking about that. That last part. Oh, we need money in the transition team. What the hell is that? What? You need money for a transition team? How many people fell for this scam? Free this, free that. I need money for the transition team. I don't even think Eric Adams did that, But this guy needs money for the transition. So our team, we're transitioning. Oh, by the way, send money specifically just for that. I mean, doesn't he have all these foreign donations? Oh, New York City, you're in for a rude awakening with this guy. Transitioning into his pockets. That's what one of you just said. Yeah, that's what's going on. I had to show you that. It's not, look, someone who's saying that, the resident jester said better than getting money from corporations. No, he already has that. He has 501c3s giving him money all over the place. His campaign is littered in straw donations and foreign contributions. So you don't know what you're talking about. Now he wants more of that. And who do you think the corporations send money through? They don't do it. They have straw donations. That's what they do. Man, this guy already, he's showing you who he really is. Somebody said in the beginning to cue the Soviet Union anthem. I wish I could. It'd probably get, thrown off of YouTube for that kind of stuff. But clearly, that's a good one. That's a good one. And I'm giving him as much rope as I can. I'm not saying anything about this guy. Like, I hope this guy could succeed somehow. But really, like, I don't know how to do it. Like, how is he going to do it saying something like that? There it is. Look at this stuff. That's on the menu. Shaker cup cocktails. Wine, dine, and pocket wine. A cocktail menu from the watch party. That's the cocktail menu for his watch party. I thought it was free. Apparently not free. Nothing in life is free, folks. Look how much money they're spending. Oh, my God. So now, one more thing before I have Jack come on. You've all heard about this wonderful restaurant that was in the Bronx, Con Sofrito, right? Well, somebody sent me something this morning in regards to the former location of Con Sofrito. So let me show you what's going on at this location, because it's quite, I don't know. I don't know what to make of this.
Frito closed August 31st, 2024. November 6, 2025, approximately 8:45 a.m. 1315 Commerce Avenue, Bronx, New York. Items this morning being moved out of the old NYPD hangout. Odd timing this morning, November 6, 2025.
People are loading boxes. That's the place. That's the place. So it's early in the morning.
Con Sofrito closed August 31st, 2024. At least it was supposed to. Boxes being loaded into a silver BMW X5 and white truck out back. Over a year after the location was ordered to shut down. What last minute items were they removing this morning? Because Con Sofrito closed in August of 2024. Con Sofrito.
Yeah. So he makes reference also in his post that there were people there. They were non-uniformed. The vehicles looked suspicious. Like this is him. That's Anthony Williams at Anthony News TV. At Anthony News TV. Moving boxes out of Con Sofrito this morning. November 6, 2025, 8:45 a.m. Individuals were observed removing items from the back of the long-closed NYPD hangout and loading them into personal vehicles, BMW X5 and large pickup. Closed since August 2024. Sudden activity raises questions. And I think there was a little bit more he had mentioned underneath there. And he brings up the fact that there's no people just running around and like it just very odd to say the least, because nobody's been there. We don't know whose boxes they're removing. Is the building being sold? Were there things in this building belonging to a certain mob associate? But that place will live in infamy forever. That property, you'll always remember. That was basically the center of the operation of the police department / Crumbs crew with with Eric Adams, and now God knows what's going on there. So, without any further ado, let's bring on producer Jack, who probably has a lot to say about what happened on Tuesday night. So, let it rip.
Yeah, well, first of all, I just thought that this menu from Mamdani's watch party was absolutely hysterical. Sal, if you walked into a venue and saw PBRs being sold for $13, and these were not like the tall boys or the 16-ounce PBRs. These were 12-ounce PBRs that they're selling for $4 at the bodega around the corner, or glasses of wine that are $13, $15, espresso martini, $22. I mean, this was the guy who was going to reduce the cost of living in New York City on day one. And he seems to be like making a pretty decent profit just from his watch party. And now with a sly smile, he needs more money. Like, where is all of the money that people are donating even going? Is it going toward Uganda trips? Is it going into a black hole somewhere? Or is campaign managers spending it? Like, I'm really curious about where all of this money is going, because he needs to raise $10 billion. So if you've already raised $3 million through drink sales and all these other things, that's progress. But somehow it seems like the money disappears the moment that he gets it, and he instantly needs more. So I'm a little bit confused here.
I saw somebody went to this thing and said, "There's the drinks. You actually have to pay for these things." Like, they were stunned that was going on, because this guy campaigned on "We're for the people," and right away you're seeing the opposite almost immediately. So what are you going to do about those the free rent and all this stuff and stable? None of that's going to happen. You were sold a pipe dream by a snake oil salesman, a real good one. He's got the smile, he's got the look. Kind of reminds me of Barack Obama. And how did that work out? So, again, in his socialist thing, I'm a socialist. He's a corporatist. He's already talking to Bill Ackman. Did we not explain this to everybody? Yet, here we are. People already scratching their heads and telling us, I can't believe. No, believe it, because we've been telling you this. It was a 3-card Mamdani, and you fell for it in New York City. All these 20-year-olds, I understand. They all want a voice. They feel like they've been ignored, right? Which is why Trump got elected. And you are being ignored because he's overseas, right? And that's a problem. You want him to come back to make things affordable for young people, which he hasn't even broached yet. He's trying to win a Nobel Peace Prize. So they want a voice, and they think this guy is going to give them a voice. Lone Silencer said this. You would expect an open bar, but Mamdani with the Dikembe Mutombo. No. You have to pay for your liquids tonight. That's essentially what happened.
And those PBRs, $12 for a 12-ounce PBR. I mean, those are pretty hefty prices. It's not like we were coming in there and drinking for cheap. It's like, if you wanted to have a good time, you needed to spend at least $100. But I wanted to dispel the biggest narrative of the election, which is that Andrew Cuomo had a chance if Curtis Lewa dropped out. Because as we take a look at the tally here, Zohran Mamdani was able to garner over 50% of the electorate. And when we do the math here, because I did do the math, I took Zohran Mamdani's vote total, and then I subtracted Andrew Cuomo's vote total, and then I subtracted Curtis Lewa's vote total, and I still got about 35,500 voters that would have needed to have flipped to Andrew Cuomo, even if you gave him all of Curtis Lewa's supporters, which is obviously wishful thinking, because most of them never in a million years would have gone and voted for Andrew Cuomo. So this was not really a close horse race from the beginning, but I'm happy we went through this period, politically speaking, in New York City history, because now we're able to differentiate between the good people and the bad people of society. And no, I'm not saying that everyone who voted for Andrew Cuomo or Zohran Mamdani is a bad person per se, but resorting to this baseless, unethical logic to force people to vote for someone who hurt them, that's where I draw the line. And I'm always going to remember the people that subscribe to that theory and philosophy and just were like sheep following what the master being Donald Trump, told them what to do.
Yeah, and that's where you make the mistake. You know, listen, you could say what you want about this guy, but clearly he got destroyed that night. Everything, the people he wanted got crushed. Like, when you start ignoring the will of the people, that's the wrath you'll pay. Republicans stayed home. You know, it's going to be the same thing come November, because unless he starts campaigning for people, like I don't know. I don't know why they didn't ask him in New Jersey to campaign. He was never going to come to New York City. That would have been like a riot caused, right? So where is he going? Because he's going to have to campaign with these people if he wants to win. But then again, what's the message? I'm too busy. I'm going to Russia to go try to do a peace deal. Like, people want to hear that anymore. They want to hear, all right, we're in trouble in this country. You campaigned on you're going to do X, Y, and Z. What happened? And also, that Epstein thing is still looming over their head, because the bunch of clowns he surrounded himself with that promised all this nonsense for years on podcasts and all this stuff, and then got to government and said there's nothing here and just shut up. We know better. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, that in itself shows that there's something off there. And it's dogged them. It's dogged them. That's not, you can't sugarcoat things. I know all these people in the chat, they love this guy. If you don't hold this guy accountable, he will eat you. You'll be eaten alive. He goes on, whether he leaves office and he's retiring as a billionaire. You don't. Your life is affected by policies and decisions made by the government, by local office. So if you don't hold him accountable, don't get upset when you wake up and go, I live in a shoebox apartment. You know, I'm paying a high rent. I can't afford, the gas is high. Well, but you pray to a shrine of a guy that, like, I thought you want to hold the guy accountable, right? He's not doing what you want. Just say it. Don't sit there and look, you're not part of the club anyway, you know?
No, definitely
and I can
not.
tell you, the guy, look, you could say all the stuff that we're saying, I'm saying, but if you could buy a ticket into Mar-a-Lago, Jack could tell you he'll be your best friend. So don't think he holds grudges. It's all nonsense.
Yeah, and this election was kind of a good litmus test as well, in the sense of Republican affiliation locally, right? Do you care more about your local elected officials who are running on the Republican line than you care about the guy occupying the White House? New Yorkers who voted with their mouths at the voting booths proved that their loyalty is with Donald Trump, not with Curtis Sliwa. And that's a really sad sign, because Curtis Sliwa was the one who was advocating for local causes in New York City. Trump, remember, switched his residency from New York City to Florida back in 2019, 6 years ago by my calculation. So he's been out of the state for a very long time at this point. So if you're listening to him instead of listening to Curtis Sliwa, the guy who's advocated for New Yorkers for 5 decades, put his life on the line, gone behind a microphone, and people tried to assassinate him, John Gotti and his family. I mean, he's put everything on the line to try and help New Yorkers. So it was very sad to see them kind of turning their back on Curtis Sliwa in that sense, because whether it was John Katzimatidis, Sid Rosenberg, Trump himself, they kind of looked at Curtis in the eye with a smile on their face, but with a butcher knife in their left hand, ready to stab him right in the back.
Yep. Well, you'll see it when I call him a jihadi, but he's on my show, number one rated. I got the mayor. You'll see. It's just, the WWE is the best way to describe it. 92 Charlie said, what happened to drill baby drill? Gas is still over $3 a gallon.
It's $4 a gallon. Yeah, I just went to the pumps a couple hours.
Yeah, I saw somebody put a picture about their gas. He forgot to mention that was regular. If you keep putting regular in your car, you'll need a transmission and an oil change probably a lot sooner than you would if you do I'd say premium. So you pay more money on the premium, but your car lasts longer. If you don't care, you can put regular all day long. But when there's issues that arise in a few months, it'll be on you. But they said, oh, look, regular is $2.90 or whatever it was where they were. But that's in different parts of the country. $2.90 in New Jersey may not be $2.90 in California. It may not be $2.90 in Texas. So what happened to that? These are things that people are asking, but unless you're willing to say, Mr. President, I voted for you. what the hell are you doing, and just keep your mouth shut and you act like he's Jesus Christ, you're wrong. You're failing. He's a human being. He has to do what the voters wanted. That's why he got into office. You got to make your voice heard with that, and he'll have to oblige. He only moves when he hears the general consensus being a majority of whatever you want. You're not making your voice heard. You just be quiet. He's doing a great job. He's MAGA. Before you know, you'll have a Democrat president. And you go, what just happened? Well, you kept your stupid mouth shut, and you're stuck in this cult-like behavior. Get out of the cult. Get out of that and say, wait a minute, this isn't working. Move your head a little and make your voice heard. And things go the way they should. Obviously, no one's addressing anything because nobody's making their voice heard. And it's not about whether you like the guy, whether you don't like the guy. I just want what we elected him to do. That's it. That's really simple. It's not about being in Mar-a-Lago sipping cocktails and all this other stuff. It's, I elected you to be the president. You said you were going to do X, Y, and Z. I see a lot of you hanging out in other foreign countries. How's that benefiting me? Oh, by the way, those tariffs, oh, by the way, they're getting challenged in the Supreme Court. That's not looking too good. So it's like, oh, another fail. Like, when are we worrying about what you said? Affordability. We have gas prices high. We want the groceries really low. You know, your economy. What are we doing? Like, that's what people want to hear. And you wake up and go endorse Andrew Cuomo. That's another nail in the coffin. What are you doing?
Failed Democratic governor when everyone on Fox News is warning about what's to come because all of the states that were red or going to become red had flipped over to blue. And just to add on to your point, Sal, you talked about having a Democratic president. Yes, you're going to have a Democratic president. You're going to have a Democratic majority in the House. You're going to have a Democratic majority in the Senate. All of your local elected officials are going to be Democrats with radicalized agendas because of you and your ignorance. So that's important to keep in mind as well. But I like the point that Lily brought up here. Blakeman, being Bruce Blakeman, is Trump endorsed, so it is likely he can get SI if he does run for governor. We're going to be keeping an eye on that development here at the Finest Unfiltered because that's automatically the race now, which is going to be drawing the most attention. And Elise Stefanik, who's the Republican, as of right now, seems like she's going to be facing a challenger and an oppositionist. And Bruce Blakeman, who's 70 years old, has a lot of connections in Long Island, is very well respected within the tri-state area, and might be able to defeat Kathy Hochul in a general election. I don't really think Stefanik, as of right now, has the juice. And she definitely doesn't have it when she's spewing nonsense like this on social media. I mean, the day after the final result was announced, Kathy Hochul's catastrophic endorsement of the defund the police pro-Hamas mayor has caused a massive walkout out of NYPD officers. Kathy Hochul and her endorsed Kami Mandami are literally destroying New York. God bless our hardworking NYPD officers. And then it goes on to say more stuff. Sal, there was no walkout of NYPD officers yesterday. Like, we can both confirm that that never happened, and she's back to resorting to nonsensical fear-mongering. The more Stefanik comes out with this nonsense, the more credibility she loses, and the more we want Bruce Blakeman, a known leader who is very well respected, to be running on that Republican ticket. Right now, the only question is he up for it, and does he want to go run the state? Because he is 70 years old. He's on the older side of things, the same way Curtis Lewa was.
Yeah, and also it's funny, you know, I guess there's multiple jujus. The real juju, I guess, he's saying watching so many suffer from Stockholm syndrome, thinking Republicans can still win in New York is so entertaining. You know, that juju makes a lot more sense than the, you know, whatever, the commie or whatever, your socialist in the chat, the jester. New York being Republican, if you're trying to win a gubernatorial race like governor, it's going to be next to impossible. I like to, like, you have to understand after what you just saw, whether you really think he got 1 million votes, or some saying, oh, they're running a scam or whatever. Yeah, there's no voter ID in New York. That was never adjusted. So how do you think the governor is going to outrun the 5 boroughs where 51% of that vote right now would go to Kathy Hochul per se? She actually would appeal to more, because the truth is Kathy Hochul, although she's, endorsed Mamdani, she could also check Mamdani. He's not going to be able to get all these things past her because she's the governor. But she appeals to the people that voted for Andrew Cuomo. That Staten Island that became yellow and voted Democrat, she can appeal to them because if you're a Democrat, you're going to vote for Kathy Hochul, who's a moderate. And best, I mean, the best term to say she's a moderate is the best way to go about it. Her whole life she's been a moderate Democrat, even though she endorsed Mamdani to get those radicals to vote for her next year. So if you use that logic, she's already past 51%. Where the hell is Stefana going trying to beat the million or whatever is going to be 2 million votes, 1.5 million votes that she's going to get out of the New York City region alone, which runs the state? And notoriously more people come out to vote for the gubernatorial race. So how do you see her winning New York, what you just saw 2 days ago in a mayor election? How do you do that?
Well, I don't really see much of a path, and there's less of a path right now because everyone who voted for Mamdani is going to be voting for Hochul. You talked about Hochul being similar to Cuomo. She was his lieutenant governor 7 years ago when they got along, very long time ago at this point. But I mean, like, everyone who voted for Mamdani is now going to be voting for Hochul. All of these people in Western New York who are Republicans are going to be voting for Hochul. The difference here is that Hochul has deep-rooted ties in the business community that Stefanik doesn't necessarily have. And that's going to be kind of a hurdle and a roadblock to even getting close to winning this election. I'm afraid we're going to be in a situation a year from now where we have a Democratic governor and a Democratic mayor, and the governor, to a certain degree, is hostage to the mayor, but it's also vice versa because Hochul needs to stay popular, and the only way to stay popular in New York State right now is to cater to the man who just got over 1 million votes and to work with him, at least publicly. Behind closed doors, it's going to be a little bit.
I see this. Jeff Smith said Hochul jumped on the Mamdani bandwagon earlier than any other New York Democrat. She already has those votes locked in.
She didn't have a choice in this case.
And I'm going to say this. You're going to say that she's not a moderate because she wants the quarantine camps. You're right. But in terms of a Democrat, she's a moderate. That's what I'm trying to say. And as a moderate, she'll get those voters, that 85-year-old guy that was tricked into voting for Cuomo that said, oh, my God, if we don't have Cuomo, Sharia law is here when this guy's already implementing Eric Adams' team. You guys got suckered. But it's easy. I told you are low information. You actually believe that this guy's going to be able to do. I was, talking with Joe Pags. I mean, he mentioned how are the bridges going to be full of people doing the prayer? What? Who the hell ever said that? Oh, that's what happened in London. And I'm like, London? What's that have to do in New York City? Yeah, the call to prayer is the Muslims are allowed to. It's a free country. They could pray just like the Catholic guy could pray, like a Jewish person could pray, like a Buddhist could pray. So now if you try to shut down the Brooklyn Bridge to go pray and you shut down traffic and there's no permits for this, that's a problem. And then there will be repercussions for that. If he tries to implement anything that is unconstitutional, whether it be from the state or the federal government, Mamdani will be prosecuted. This idea that he's going to run around and because they're like, oh, I guess it happened in Michigan. Where did it happen in Michigan? Where did this happen? They're allowed to have their own communities. Italians did it. Irish did it. All these other people do it. Now, if you want to say that you have ideologically, you have a problem because they're Muslim, then that really is down to you as the individual. Because I don't. Because those people, a lot of them are my friend, and just like Jewish people, they vote conservative, and they have the exact same values I do. Doesn't matter which side of they pray to. But if you're saying they're gonna shut down a bridge, I mean, who the hell said that? That's Mamdani ever say that? See, this is complete Republican fear-mongering talking points. It's not going to get you elected in Kansas. It's not. People don't like the ad hominem attacks because when you say he's doing something that hasn't even happened, he's never said this. Now, if this happens, different story. And if there's no reaction, different story. But I have not seen this or been told this from anyone in his campaign anywhere that that's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is he's going to continue the status quo. John Katz is going to buy new buildings that he's going to give all kinds of tax breaks on. He's going to be taxing all the poor people and the middle class. The rich people, he says, the 1% is going to be hanging out with. And you guys got suckered. Like, that's what's going to happen. I don't know why you guys are like, I don't know where they're getting this Republican talking point of you're making this. This sounds like a certain someone I know who's a 100% fear mongerer on X, okay? And it's a female and a alleged Republican and a fear mongerer. And she's running rampant with this Islamophobia stuff or whatever she says, okay? And it's, you can't do that. You really can't. That's not how you win an election. People don't like ad hominem attacks. Oh, here we go. There's Bill Ackman. This is the one I saw when he said, Zohran Mamdani, congrats on the win. Now you have a big responsibility. If I can help New York City, just let me know what I could do. It's already, his special Hagan said this just in. Tran, the guy who worked in Shepard's office, that's Tariq Shepard, and who shot a guy in the road rage incident, just pled guilty to attempted murder. He's expected to be sentenced to 10 years. Another star of the Eric Adams administration in the NYPD, a star. No Kaz Dawdry. Where's Kaz Dawdry today, Jack? Is he still deputy mayor? Or
He's still deputy mayor, but his days, as I understand them, are numbered. But Rodney Harrison is in the running to be the new deputy mayor. But I would recommend everyone out there who's worried about bridges or religion or any of this stuff, become an expert on Mamdani's transition agenda and everyone he's hiring before we have a discussion about any of the nonsensical garbage that people are talking about. Because if you listen to Eric Adams's interview on Good Day New York yesterday on Fox 5, he talks at length about members of his administration wanting recommendations to stay on board with Mamdani and him thinking that it will happen because they have great experienced people who have a proven resume and have proven that they can operate in City Hall. So we're basically getting a continuation of the same. And what we're not talking about, because there's been so much window dressing about the garbage, is that Zohran Mamdani's legislative agenda is very similar to not only Eric Adams, but also Bill de Blasio. So we're essentially getting a continuation of the previous decade, just with a fresh face who's 34 years old running the show this time around. Not much is different.
I see. Now, here's something interesting. I just got something. It's from, I guess it's Facebook. And I don't know if this is true or not. But it's saying that Mamdani plans to spend $230 million to purchase and refurbish this rundown old grocery store in Brooklyn owned by his cousin. He's buying a building the city can't afford from his own family. The building, which was closed and condemned by the city 5 years ago, would likely have never sold without a little help from the wealthiest city in the world. But again, like, if that's true, you can't. A building that's been condemned cannot be. You have to knock it down. It's going to be a lot in the city's money. I don't know about that. Again, this might be some more misinformation stuff. Like, you have to.
Yeah.
You can't just buy a condemned building and think you're going to open it up again.
No, and there needs to be kind of checks and balances when it comes to deciding what's going to happen with all of these policies. And we need to monitor the progression of them too. City-owned grocery stores. The city is never going to own the physical grocery store. So even if the grocery stores are getting federal or governmental money, it's still not owned by the city. And that's already happening in a form and fashion right now with Eric Adams. And as I understand it, we're going to be having less money going to the city-owned grocery stores under Mamdani. So that's number one. The Department of Community Safety, the city doesn't have $1 billion for that on top of everything else. So probably what's going to happen there is there's going to be further collaboration between social workers and the cops with no increase in headcount for the police force, because they're now going to be collaborating with people for certain jobs instead of, say, going with 5 or 6 other police officers. Like, all of those. And by the way, he doesn't have really the power of authority to do any of these things as mayor, because a lot of the policies and a lot of the funding for them comes through Albany. So let's just kind of come back down to reality and the ground floor of planet Earth here for just a moment and really understand what this is going to look like. If Mamdani fails to deliver on a lot of these things too, it's very hard to see him winning re-election in 4 years, because he's going to be viewed to unfavorability by a large portion of the constituency base.
Just like Cuomo was, Here, the real juju says the first sign of a decaying society is its architectural development. This is a story as old as time. You're right, and there might be something to this story, because Michael Freed he's in the chat. He's the one that said, like, he sent it, but that again, could that be happening? He's buying this building, like he wants to refurbish this. You can't refurbish a condemned building, though. So that means you'd have to completely knock this down. And again, I don't know how you're going to do it and explain to taxpayers that we are knocking down this condemned building for to be a grocery store. It just doesn't work that way. There'd be so many hula hoops you got to go through, and someone's going to say, "What is this?"
I have a question. Can we have a cocktail hour there to raise money for the grocery store first? Because I mean, that in a nutshell proves that we need wealthy people to be staying in New York City if any of these things are ever going to become possible. Because where else are we going to be getting the money from? We can't just give everything out for free and expect it to function and operate.
Yeah, well, it'll collapse in 2 seconds.
So if we charge $50 for a 12-ounce beer for rich people at the bar, then we can fund city-run grocery stores in poor neighborhoods. Is that kind of the logic here? And oh, by the way, we raised $1.5 million from out-of-state contributions, and now we're totally out of money to the point where we need funds for our transition team too. So this is already financially not off to a very good start.
Yeah, and I'd say this. Lone Silencer said he is calling out Trump because he will use him as the villain for why his bogus promises were not kept. The low information voters will buy it hook, line, and sinker. He's right. He will use that the way Trump's trying to use him. He will use that to his advantage on New York City voters. That, by the way, did Trump's endorsement hurt Curtis Sliwa? Yeah, but did it help Cuomo? Or did it really help Mamdani? Because people probably more than likely got off their couch once he called and said he endorsed Andrew Cuomo. And how many more people came out to vote? Because that guy saying anything in New York City is going to get tons of people off the couch. And probably not in a good way, because they absolutely hate him. I don't know how I got to keep
yet people, when voter turnout surpassed 2 million people for the first time in decades, Fox News talking heads had the nerve to go on X and on their cable TV station and say people were too confused about who they should be voting for, and that's why Mamdani won. Like, no, guys, everyone who could vote practically and cared about the election even a little bit came out to vote, as evidenced by the 15% increase in voter turnout from 2021. So that wasn't it at all. And I would happen to agree with you, Sal, that once people saw President Trump's endorsement, they went and voted for Mamdani because they said, we're not doing anything to associate with someone who's allies with President Trump. This was also kind of a shell-shocking situation for President Trump, because usually he comes out and endorses someone who's a winning candidate, a lead dog who's leading a race. Now he voluntarily associated with a Democratic loser. And he said even in his interview, I would rather have a bad Democrat than a communist. Well, congratulations. You now showed everyone that you're willing to associate with a horrible Democrat and someone whose policies were very far left-leaning as well. So hope everyone was paying attention to his true colors there.
Yeah, the real Juju says Trump did that on purpose, vengeance. He also said Sliwa is a never Trumper. Curtis actually voted for him and last year, but they have a strenuous relationship.
It's very complicated. I mean, Curtis Sliwa too is kind of like the token person in the arena in politics in New York City, because New York City operates very differently than the rest of the country, to the point where the conservative base is the minority. He kind of founded this brand of conservative media as kind of the voice of the conservative party. And his ideological and political beliefs have varied from Donald Trump's for a very long time, too. I mean, he knew Trump when Trump lived in New York City, and they had a strained relationship at that point as well. It's evolved in a very turmoil-ridden manner. Sliwa even said publicly that they hadn't even had a conversation person to person in a decade. So Sliwa has supported Trump. He's voted for him in presidential elections. But at the local and state level, they've had a lot of disagreements. And I give Sliwa a lot of credit because he stood up to Trump and said, listen, we're both Republicans, but I'm going to still publicly disagree with you when I want to disagree with you. And I think that's kind of been a point of disagreement between the two sides.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, we've had a lot here. I don't know if you want to play that final video of Eric Adams yesterday.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab that right now.
We got to put this video. This is Eric Adams goes on Fox 5 with Kurt Menefee, and he just
like we're gonna show it to you right now. But he absolutely imploded when speaking with Kurt Menefee, and Kurt Menefee did a very good job keeping his cool, by the way. So let's take a look.
Players pick their team and their staff to execute their policies, and he'll make the determination who he wants on his team. But I believe a lot of my team members will still be there because they have the experience.
So are you saying that you think the commissioner's going to stay?
Brother, I don't know how many times I can say the same thing over and over
you're
again.
saying that he wants her to stay. I'm asking.
Ask Zoran that question. I'm no longer the mayor on the 31st. You keep asking me the same question. You do that often when I'm on your show.
Well, I'm asking you the question that you
ask Zoran.
You said he wants her to stay, and you said we will see members of your administration stay, including her. So if you're saying that you're going to see her stay, that means I'm asking, do you know that she's going to stay? That's all. I'm just trying to get clarification when you're saying one thing, but then you're coming back and saying, well, he's saying that, which he did. I'm asking, do you know if she is going to stay? That's all I'm asking.
Xana, do you have a question for me? Because I can't play this game with him.
Well, it's not a game. You're the one that said it. No,
I answered the question. Though. Do you have a question for me?
I do.
Well, you can play this game if you want as well. I mean, so let's not come on here and pretend.
I'm getting ready to get off your show right now.
All right, wait.
You can have whatever tantrum you want.
A question that I answered already.
You did not answer the question.
About his staff.
Yes.
But I'm not going back and forth with you as I typically do when you get on the air. When I'm on the air with others, it's a pleasant conversation. But you're rude, you're disrespectful.
Could I just ask another question? Because Mayor,
no, this is you coming out here, and you have an agenda when you come on the show. All right, so let's face
brother,
that.
Breathe, man. Breathe.
No, I'm breathing. I'm fine.
Take a deep breath. That's why I did meditation, because I know it's coming.
I do meditation every morning, brother. So don't worry about me.
All right,
take care of you.
Let me.
I mean, like for a second, let's stop and think about what happened. You have Kurt Menefee, who is one of the most respected men in professional broadcasting, regardless of genre, does the NFL on Fox, fantastic job with Football Sundays. Good Day New York now has been fantastic and fair to every single candidate in the race from the very beginning, right? Fantastic, very high integrity individual. And when Eric Adams, now that he's done being mayor, he can press him a little bit more because he's not a big shot. He's kind of on the way out the door. And for Eric Adams to just sit there and refuse to answer his questions, that was totally disgusting. And then saying, I'm not answering it because you're being rude to me. He's there to get answers for the people of New York City, not to be your best friend. Come on, Eric, wake up.
I just like that because he didn't want to tell him that Jessica Tisch was going to remain as police commissioner, a.k.a. the soccer mom. So he just doesn't want to. Eric always tippy toes around giving you a real answer. Kurt Menefee knows that Eric is a liar. I mean, that's all the guy has done his whole career as a politician and quite possibly his whole career as a cop. So what he said there is he's not giving you an answer and he's tippy-toeing around. Oh, one of my commissioners. Oh, who? The police commissioner? You got to ask Mom Don. No, he's asking you because you said it. And he's doing the same song and dance. You know, he used to say, I'm the mayor, you need to respect me. But here, oh, brother, that's another thing he does. If they're black like him, he says brother or sister. That's how he addresses you. because he brings that low information stuff to you, like, oh, brother. No, clearly you're dancing around the topic. And what he didn't want you to know is that his staff that abandoned him because he's a criminal, and then he ran to Trump and got his whole deal orchestrated and abandoned him to go run to Mamdani, who right after that started rising in the polls. So, this is establishment Democrats. The only good thing out of Eric Adams, besides, when he was in City Hall, he did have a lot of people in City Hall, not the NYPD. He had people that were very competent and could have done their job had he not worried about the Crumbs crew. He gave the Crumbs crew all the power, and all these people that would have done a good job never had a chance because everybody answered to the Crumbs crew. You called Tim Pearson and Phil Banks for everything. So that's why this failed. It failed because Eric Adams is greedy. That's the bottom line. Greed. That's why he's no longer the mayor. That's why he got indicted. That's why they were running a nightclub extortion racket. And that's what it is because of greed. Because the people he actually put in with their resumes, and they actually would have been very competent. I mean, look, you can say what you want about Eric Ulrich, right? Eric Ulrich got in trouble because of him. Eric Ulrich was put in a position where, in the end, you have to do what Eric Adams wants. Oh, and by the way, you answer to the Crumbs crew guys, too. That's why that failed. You never let these people operate where they know what to do, and when something reaches a level where you need someone higher, they would contact you. But that he didn't allow that. He was running the whole show, and if he wasn't, it's his crony. So that's why it failed. I'm being honest. That's what it was. The Crumbs crew destroyed the city, and Eric Adams, any kind of political capital he has left, went out the window because of those guys. And if, God forbid, he got elected again or did anything else, the same thing would happen again. There's going to be a Kaz Daughtry. There'll be a Tim Pearson around, and that's why he would fail. Greed and incompetence, and the guy's such an arrogant egomaniac.
Yeah, that in a nutshell is probably the biggest problem with Eric Adams. In all fairness and with due respect, he did a pretty decent job at points, not all the time, but at points, of hiring competent, seasoned individuals to do their job. But the problem was he always prioritized personal ego over professional work. And that's why he forced a lot of people out the door because of conflicts that they might have had over the years or disputes over professional matters. And then they were swiftly replaced with idiots who happened to be in his social circle. So that was really the issue. I mean, early in the interview, you heard Adams talking about the competency in his office and assembling a good team and how Mamdani's asked him about recommendations or whatever. So that speaks to the good job that he has done on some level at City Hall.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Overshadow the good with nonsense.
Someone says it right here. Real Maldi 5D channel, like Anthony Miranda, arrogant. Like that guy has no business being in government. None.
Isn't he at a convention overseas right now or something?
He's a clown. A guy was a clown he was a clown in the police department. A rabble rouser like him has no business running anything. He can't even run a grocery store. Why was he the sheriff? Which, by the way, he didn't file the right paperwork, right? Why is he there? Because of Eric Adams. So the most competent person doesn't get the job. You see, this is what I'm talking about with him. And that's why he failed. If you were to write the Crumbs Crew book, which has endless amount of chapters at this point, the main reason he failed is greed and incompetence. He puts incompetent, and then he sets you up to fail. He set up Eric Ulrich to fail. He set up Joe Otto to fail. Another guy, James. Otto, same thing. He sets you up to fail. Why? Because he's greedy and incompetent. That's why. Because if you're running an operation, I can't be. Who are you again? You're Eric Adams, a former cop. What do you know about housing? He doesn't know anything. So let the building commission. No. I got to find out. And then he gets him involved in his schemes. Like, this is all him. He's ruined everyone's life around him. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Speaking of Anthony Miranda, we can't let that guy off too easily, can we?
Oh, my God.
This is him at a conference in PR.
Wait a minute. Do you know who's that on the left of him? That is the one and only mob associate, Jimmy Rodriguez, hanging out with. See, they brought the consofrito to Puerto Rico. See, I told you this guy. They like best. Like they anywhere you see Miranda, you'll see Jimmy and back and forth. Maybe they're gonna open another consofrito down there.
I find there to be a problem between having the sheriff who is in charge of raiding weed shops hanging out with a known criminal who in the past had talked about having drug addiction. Like, isn't that a little bit problematic? And contextually speaking, they're in Puerto Rico, which is a country where there's a lot of crime and drugs and issues. So what are they doing there together? Aren't you a little bit suspicious? I'm someone who believes that when there's smoke, fire is very close by behind it. And I mean, Miranda was a horrible appointment as chief sheriff in New York City because you need someone who understands finance and property seizures and all of that stuff, because the sheriff's department in New York City is very different than the police department. He was not an expert in any of the above. In fact, watching him do raids, he seems like he has no idea what he's doing. And now he's on taxpayer dollars going and hanging out with Jimmy Rodriguez in Puerto Rico. And I mean, Jimmy Rodriguez always has a trick up his sleeve. Isn't he on probation right now, by the way? I mean, he was arrested at his own bar. He probably shouldn't be leaving New York or the United States. And he's in Puerto Rico with someone who runs the sheriff's department in his own city. Like, where are we morally at this point in time? I don't know anymore. I think we left our morals at the front door and forgot to take our shoes off once we went inside.
Don't worry. I guarantee you at some point they'll try to get Mamdani, who's in that hip hop, he knows those artists. They'll try to get him in front of Jimmy because, Jimmy knows everybody. Hashtag I know Jimmy. That's the way it goes. I'm just telling. I can't believe that he's in Puerto Rico and that's a taxpayer funded trip. There's Anthony Miranda going to Puerto Rico on a taxpayer dime, and there he is with the one and only mob associate Jimmy Rodriguez. And of course, on the same day that the old establishment is Consofrito has all kinds of stuff, boxes, people just showed up to take everything out of there a year plus after they've closed, and no one has been seen over there since.
I think that this photo needs to go in the Louvre right next to the Mona Lisa, because time-wise, it's absolutely ridiculous that these two guys are hanging out. Perhaps they're scoping out a spot in Puerto Rico for another consofrito. Also, I'm a little bit suspicious of this guy all the way on the right with the glasses, the bald Caucasian gentleman. It's like they're both kind of gleefully looking at him smiling. Who the hell is he, and how does he know both of them? I have so many questions about the complexion and dynamic of what's going on here.
I don't know what's going on other than, like Hard X Core says, Crumb's crew all landing on their feet. What a world we live in. Morals need not apply. All I know is there's the Consofrito crew together, and they're spending taxpayer money still to this day, and that mob associate can't stay away from a city government, and yet this is but they want to terminate people like me. Oh, you're hanging out with Roger Stone. He's a big bad guy. Don't look at the mob associate that's got all kinds of like felonious activity around him. Hey, he's right next to Miranda, and now they're in Puerto Rico together. Who else is on this trip? Is Molina around? That's another henchman of the henchman, Molina. Who else is there? Like, this is ridiculous. This is unbelievable that this guy is it's just one. This is why Eric Adams did not get reelected, though. This is why.
I have a theory, too. Is Eric Adams involved in this somehow? Is he looking for work in Puerto Rico or to be affiliated with the nation in some regard? I mean, the thing about this crew is they all kind of like to roll together. So looking at it with that logic in mind, you would expect that Eric Adams is either involved in facilitating these new opportunities or directly behind them. He just hasn't announced his next plans yet. But I'm told that he's told all of his staff members that he has a new job lined up for January that he's very excited about. So there's that too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what he's, what his new job's going to be, but that is a good find, Jack. This is why on the Sal Greco show, we like to bring you evidence and facts of things. And I would stay tuned next week. There's going to be a lot of evidence in regards to certain issues that happen in New York City Police Department. And future lawsuits and current ongoings that are happening. I did see, I think Joel Ramirez said something here about if Commissioner Tisch stays on, I believe in the regards of the Rosario case, because Joel was saying that if she stays on as police commissioner, it's because she fires those guys, which would be an atrocity because they got cleared. So if that happens, then you know why. It's like another political hit job that she stays on because she's doing the bidding of the agenda, which is that is a CCRB thing. There's going to be plenty of questions for that, and we'll get to a lot of that tomorrow when I go on the Finest Unfiltered 8:05 in the morning with the roundtable. Obviously, we're going to be discussing a lot of what you heard today with whatever new things pop up. Definitely the CCRB things, anything that concerns the NYPD with this going forward. But clearly, I do think Joel's got a point where if Tisch stays on, it's because she has to go through with the agenda. So the Rosario case, those guys, they made the newspaper, they made the media, now they got to get fired. That's what they want. They want to somehow, even though they cleared them, how do we get rid of these guys and make them the scapegoat for whatever it is they're looking to get through? That's what it is. The police department is the whipping boys. So if you're a politician, you use them as a sword and then a shield. Oh, I love law enforcement, and you make it a big deal if something happens, and you make examples out of people. Never of the executives, though. Just the low-hanging fruit, the rank and file take the beating. Never the executive. I mean, you got to watch a certain chief with a bum ankle on Fox, like he knows what he's talking about. He's in so many lawsuits and more pending, yet no one. Like, why would you have a disgraced chief with a bum ankle? He could walk into your studios, but he couldn't walk to work. But this guy is talking about, police officers leaving. If they're gonna leave, and they left, and a lot of them did leave, it was because of that gentleman in particular and what he was doing to police officers, not because of who's the mayor. I've said this so many times. It gets old saying it over and over again. I've never had a police officer tell me I had to leave because the mayor. I hear them say they get overworked. I hear that they can't get days off. I'm hearing that they're working with people they don't like. I'm hearing that they get foot posts. I'm hearing that they work, on their days off. They're getting more foot posts. They don't have any time to go home to their family. They get their days off denied. That is how people walk off the job. Their numbers, maybe they're overtime. The numbers they have, meaning retirement for their pension, that number works. They can retire. Or they just lost their gig. They want to retire. It's not, Mamdani's the mayor, I'm out of here. Because what is he going to do to the police department? Really? It's always internal management, that kind of stuff is why that's the number one reason people leave. So another fear-mongering tactic. Use the police department as the sword. Oh, that's why he's so bad. The mayor is so bad. They were leaving in droves on the Eric Adams, but you didn't hear that. Somebody mentioned too the police free zones, Jack. We on the Finest Unfiltered Network told you about the police free zones have been going on for many years. It started on the Bill de Blasio. Eric Adams let it keep going. It's in the 73rd precinct. Once every 4 months, you have a week of police free zone. So Mamdani didn't implement that. That was already there. So don't try to, conflate things and make it that it's got to be him. He's the bad guy. When you already have these things going on and nobody seems to care because they want to use it later on. Again, it's the sword and then the shield. The sword and then the shield.
Yeah, and at the 300 retirees per month trajectory, that would mean that the NYPD is on pace to lose about 3,600 people in the next year or so. And they're trying to add 5,000 cops, but the logistics and math behind that is very difficult given the attrition and low retention rate that's going on amongst people who are in the 3 to 5 years range on the job. But as it pertains to Mamdani and Tisch, it's kind of been radio silent from both parties since Mamdani won the election on Tuesday night. Tisch has told people reportedly that are close to her that she's willing to work for Mamdani. But as Mamdani said, when he was asked about it, she's going to have to enforce and enact and follow my agenda, assuming that I get into office and I'm kind of running the NYPD. So it seems like it's a very sticky relationship where Tisch wants to call the shots with Mamdani kind of supervising, but Mamdani seems like he wants to get to call the shots. Remember, the situation that Tish is operating in is very different now because she entered Eric Adams' administration on the back end of it. She's entering Mamdani's administration on the front end.
Joel Ramirez brings us up to Sal. Don't forget the cops pending indictment. There are things happening behind the scenes. So again, what is the next police commissioner going to do, or does he keep this lame duck soccer mom there to do? Well, she's going to have to sell her soul and do his bidding, even though she can probably buy him 10 times over because she's worth billions of dollars. Somehow she wants to do this job that she has no idea what she's doing about. And police commissioner, it's really disgusting. You know, Jay says Republicans losing because there's some losers in the party who are liberal rats, IRL, and anti-Semitic. Need to clean out the party first. I've been saying that. You know, just because Trump won last year, you've done nothing, because clearly all across the board, all these different races, Republicans did not help anyone. They didn't run good campaigns. You know, what can I tell you? They don't do anything when they get to government. It's just they like to campaign. They want your money. They like to go clout chasing. They like to hang out at the bar and have all these cocktails and have these girls. And then what? Then you're in office and it's like, yeah, I don't know what to do. Oh, government shutdown? Yeah, I'm for that. Yeah. And then what? What do? You're getting crushed. It's like the other side runs you. You know, I don't know. It's, what can I say? As it, Mamdani wants, Marlon says Mamdani wants to Sewell Tish in her role as police commissioner.
I think what he means is that he wants to put Keechant Sewell in as police commissioner. I mean, again, Mamdani's coming in looking to make an impression. He has something to prove to people after he won such a crazy election cycle. And in the first couple of months, he's going to be looking to make that statement through pro-action. So whether he overcompensates or undercompensates remains to be seen. But Commissioner Tish might not agree with her agenda. And if she feels that could limit her mobility in terms of getting another job, because this is not going to be Jessica Tish's last job. She's going to run for public office or seek out another position at some point in time. She may end up leaving on her own terms. It's going to be interesting to follow that development.
Marlon corrected that. He said he wants to marginalize Tish, like Eric Adams marginalized.
Yeah, that too, because he wants to be the boss and he wants to show everyone that he's in charge. So if he just continues Tish's agenda, how does he put his stamp of approval on anything? He's going to be doing the same thing with legislative policies, but he needs to make a statement with public safety because that was all the way at the forefront of his campaign.
You know, we'll end all of this here. Owen Schroyer said this. He just posted this now. If you don't understand how Mamdani won, it shows you have a massive political blind spot. The reason why some conservatives are celebrating it is because they hope it will open your eyes. You know, listen, he's got a point. Owen makes a lot of points. A lot of people, they got a lot of things to say. Owen is my friend, and he's very smart. And again, I think that that's real point. They're using this as a sword. Mamdani, they created a straw man, I tell you that, and they're doing it right now. It's blaming Curtis Lewa for something that was probably inevitable by the numbers. It's just impossible. I don't know how you do. How do you beat this back? You know, Kristen Alina said WABC radio is a disgrace, still blaming Curtis for Mamdani winning. That's John Katzimatidis, you know. Meanwhile, his building's still going up in St. Pete right now. Which, by the way, anybody check on the laborers working there? Somebody doesn't like illegal immigration. You may want to check that out. All right. I think I had enough of this John Katzimatidis, WABC. I hope everybody enjoyed today's show. I was just trying to make this as informative as can be. Tomorrow, the Finest Unfiltered, I'll be on at 8:05 on the round table. Marlon, Eric, John, and Eric. And, of course, John might want to address being called – they're calling him a Marxist. Like, are you – that's – John Macari is a Marxist. And that's funny. But that's what people are saying because that's your woke right. that's what's going on with that. And check out the replay yesterday, the executive perspective. Ron and Rob did a great job breaking everything down. And Ron really, literally campaigned for Curtis. And he's a guy that's Ron Lason's like a real cop. Like, he really didn't get into politics, and now all of a sudden he is, because he started realizing that politics runs everything, and he was really adamant about Curtis. So he was at the watch party. I mean, you could watch the show because he was pretty disgusted over how the hell the 7% even occurred. But it is what it is. Like I said, it's not the end of the world. It wasn't expected. I believed in Curtis. I still do. I support him probably to the day I die. I'm not one of these guys that abandons people. Curtis has done a lot for the city. He's done a lot in general. He's even helped me out, because at the time when everybody was laughing about con sofrito, he made sure he spoke about it. And then he also had people try to get into that restaurant, and they were seeing the same things that, I kept talking about. So Curtis did a lot, and it's a shame that this is how it ends. Like, this is how you want to make this guy into it's his reason why Mamdani won. No. 2 million plus voters, where over half of those said that's what they wanted. Very hard to beat back that amount of votes. So again, I could say this: congratulations to you, the new mayor, and I could only hope that you do something right. I don't know what it is. I don't know exactly what this agenda, what you're going to do, because you're going to implement anything, but that's what New York City wants. There'll be plenty of material. Hopefully you don't put people like Kaz Daughtry in your administration. I don't think you want to do that, because corrupt actors will destroy you. And we'll see. We'll see. Republican Party needs to regroup real quick, because if they continue down this path, you will be destroyed in November, and Trump will be impeached. And it may happen. I think maybe some of that stuff was already laid out. So does it happen or not? It really depends on what the next move is with the party. So that's the best way of putting it. I gave you the best, my take on this, my outlook on politics in the city and everything that happens. But is it the end of the world? No. The world will keep spinning no matter who's the mayor. So just remember that it's not the end of the world, and there's always other options. You can move if you don't like it. You could stay and fight. You could wait it out. I don't know. We really don't know what this guy's going to implement yet. There's a lot of rhetoric, and there's no action yet. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. So thanks everybody in the chat. Thanks to everybody who supports us. And anyone that supported Curtis through the way, shout out to you too. It shows more of your own integrity to not give up on your own values because somebody either A, told you to do it, or B, they fear-mongered you into not going with your own conscience. That's going to be something that you one day, when you see a maker, would have to live with. You changed your own decision because somebody feared you into, oh my God, it's the end of the world. This guy's going to get elected mayor. Oh no. Oh no. They're going to literally go in your homes and rip you out. Sharia law. Yeah. Well, right. Yeah. So I think that does it here from the Sal Greco Show. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8:05 with the entire Finance Unfiltered crew. Once again, thank you all for supporting us always. And also check out the 10-4 Tavern on the replays. That's Tuesdays at 7:05. Any executive perspective. And I'll see you at 8:05. So thank you all. Thanks to Jack, also the producer, always with the good material. And I'm signing off from sunny South Florida because, as you know, this is a sunny place for shady people. Now, I know you're tired of searching on the web for things and not getting the results you're looking for. I have something for you. FreeSpoke. FreeSpoke is a search engine that is all about authenticity rather than agendas. Labels, media bias, no intrusions, or data leaking or your data being taken from you. Porn free, none of those ads, unlimited, unbiased AI, deep dive podcast searching, and you can get it by going to freespoke.app.link/FreeSpoke. /Greco. Use the same link to get a 35% discount on your premium subscription. What are you waiting for, folks? This is the way of the future. Free spoke.
Listen, there was a book that came out that Jasmine Ray wrote. And in the Daily News today, it was stated that there was a sexual action that happened in Borough Hall to be put in that book. And it wasn't. You're a dog sick person, man. You know that? You're a dog sick person. Your name was on the byline. And there's some of you that have been covering me. You guys could part. Let me do this. Y'all could depart. Some of you have been covering me for 3.5 years. Some of you are so sick and dark, and you're the leader of that. You're one of the most dark writers that I've ever seen in this city. And your personal sick vendetta and the sickness of how you think of over-sexualizing a black man, that in the book is stated that there was a sexual action in Borough Hall. That was never in the book. But that's typical of the sickness and the darkness of your sick mind. You're one of the sickest reporters I know. Go to the next question. You're a sick person.